Good morning and welcome to day 37 in Bible in a Year. We'll be going through the Bible from Genesis to Revelation in 365 days. We'll be following the Adventure Timeline by Jeff Cavins. My name is Pastor Jay Lutz, and we're going to be going through the period of Egypt and Exodus at the time. Reading Exodus 17-18, Leviticus 12, and Psalm 73. Now, in Exodus 17-18, the Israelites quarrel with Moses over water in the desert of Sin. At Massa and Meribah, they're given water. Then the Amalekites come and try to fight them at Rephidim. They're defeated. In chapter 18, we hear about Jethro, Moses' father-in-law, who brings along Moses' wife and 2 kids to come see him. And then his father-in-law gives Moses direction on how to judge over the people. Leviticus 12, we talk about purification rituals after childbirth for women in the tribes of Israel. And then Psalm 73 is a psalm of Asaph. And this is a psalm of wisdom, kind of like Psalm 1. So let's get into it. Exodus chapter 17. The whole Israelite community set out for the desert of Sin, traveling from place to place as the Lord commanded. They camped at Rephidim, but there was no water for the people to drink. So they quarreled with Moses and said, "Give us water to drink." Moses replied, "Why do you quarrel with me? Why do you put the Lord to the test?" The people were thirsty for water there, and they grumbled against Moses. They said, "Why did you bring us out of Egypt to make us and our children and our livestock die of thirst?" Then Moses cried out to the Lord, "What am I to do with these people? They are almost ready to stone me." The Lord answered Moses, "Walk on ahead of the people, take with you some of the elders of Israel, and take in your hand the staff with which you struck the Nile, and go. I will stand there before you by the rock at Horeb. Strike the rock, and water will come out of it for the people to drink." So Moses did this in the sight of the elders of Israel. And he called the place Massa and Meribah, because the Israelites quarreled, and because they tested the Lord, saying, "Is the Lord among us or not?" The Amalekites came and attacked the Israelites at Rephidim. Moses said to Joshua, "Choose some of the men and go out to fight the Amalekites. Tomorrow I will stand on top of the hill with the staff of God in my hands." So Joshua fought the Amalekites as Moses had ordered, and Moses, Aaron, and Hur went to the top of the hill. As long as Moses held up his hand, the Israelites were winning. But whenever he lowered his hand, the Amalekites were winning. When Moses' hands grew tired, they took a stone and put it under him, and he sat on it. Aaron and Hur held his hand up, one on one side and one on the other, so that his hands remained steadily till sunset. So Joshua overcame the Amalekites with the sword. Then the Lord said to Moses, "Write this on a scroll as something to be remembered, and make sure that Joshua hears it, because I will completely blot out the memory of Amalek from under heaven." Moses built an altar and called it, "The Lord is my banner." He said, "For hands were lifted up to the throne of the Lord. The Lord will be at war against the Amalekites from generation to generation." Chapter 18. Now Jethro, priest of Midian, the father-in-law of Moses, heard of everything God had done for Moses and for his people Israel, and how the Lord had brought Israel out of Egypt. After Moses had sent away his wife Zipporah, his father-in-law Jethro received her and her 2 sons. One son was named Gershom, for Moses said, "I have become an alien in a foreign land." And the other was named Eliezer, and he said, "My father's God was my helper. He saved me from the sword of Pharaoh." Jethro, Moses' father-in-law, together with Moses' sons and wife, came to him in the desert, where he had camped near the mountain of God. Jethro had sent word to him, "I, your father-in-law Jethro, am coming to you with your wife and her 2 sons." So Moses went out to meet his father-in-law and bowed down and kissed him. They greeted each other and then went into the tent. Moses told his father-in-law about everything the Lord had done to Pharaoh and the Egyptians for Israel's sake, and about all the hardship they had met along the way, and how the Lord had saved them. Jethro was delighted to hear about all the good things the Lord had done for Israel, rescuing them from the hand of the Egyptians. He said, "Praise be to the Lord, who rescued you from the hands of the Egyptians and of Pharaoh, and who rescues the people from the hand of the Egyptians. Now I know that the Lord is greater than all other gods, for he did this to those who had treated Israel arrogantly." And Jethro, Moses' father-in-law, brought a burnt offering and other sacrifices to God. Aaron came with all the elders of Israel to eat bread with Moses' father-in-law in the presence of God. The next day Moses took his seat to serve as judge for the people, and they stood around him from morning till evening. When his father-in-law saw that Moses was doing for these people, he said, "What is it that you're doing for the people? Why do you alone sit as judge, while all the people stand around you from morning till evening?" Moses answered him, "Because the people came to me to seek God's will. Whenever they have a dispute, it is brought to me, and I decide between the parties, and inform them of God's decrees and laws." Moses' father-in-law replied, "What are you doing? What you're doing is not good. You and these people who come to you will only wear yourselves out. The work is too heavy for you. You cannot handle it alone. Listen now to me, and I will give you some advice, and may God be with you. You may be the people's representative before God, and bring their disputes to him. Teach them the decrees and the laws and the duties they are to perform. But select capable men from all the people, men who fear God, trustworthy men who hate dishonest gain, and appoint them as officials over thousands, hundreds, fifties, and tens. Have them serve as judges for the people at all times, but have them bring every difficult case to you. The simple cases they can decide themselves. That will make your load lighter, because they will share it with you. If you do this, and God so commands, you'll be able to stand the strain, and all these people will go home satisfied." Moses listened to his father-in-law and did everything he said. He chose capable men from all of Israel and made them leaders of the people, officials over thousands, hundreds, fifties, and tens. They served as judges for the people at all times. The difficult cases they brought to Moses, but the simple ones they decided themselves. Then Moses sent his father-in-law on his way, and Jethro returned to his own country. Second reading comes from Leviticus chapter 12. The Lord said to Moses, "Say to the Israelites, a woman who becomes pregnant and gives birth to a son will be ceremonially unclean for 7 days, just as she is unclean during her monthly period. On the 8th day the boy is to be circumcised. Then the woman must wait 33 days to be purified from her bleeding. She must not touch anything sacred or go to the sanctuary until the day of her purification is over. If she gives birth to a daughter, for 2 weeks the woman will be unclean as during her period. Then she must wait 66 days to be purified from her bleeding. When the days of her purification for a son or daughter are over, she is to bring to the priest at the entrance of the tent of meeting a year-old lamb for a burnt offering, a young pigeon, or a dove for a sin offering. He shall offer them before the Lord to make atonement for her, and then she will be ceremonially clean from her flow of blood. These are the regulations for the women who give birth to a boy or a girl. If she cannot afford a lamb, she is to bring 2 doves or 2 young pigeons, one for burnt offering and the other for a sin offering. In this way the priest will make atonement for her, and she will be cleaned." And the second reading and last reading is Psalm 73, a psalm of Asaph. "Surely God is good, Israel, to those who are pure in heart. But as for me, my feet had almost slipped. I had nearly lost my foothold. For I envied the arrogant when I saw the prosperity of the wicked. They have no struggles. Their bodies are healthy and strong. They are free from the burdens common to man. They are not plagued by human ills. Therefore pride is their necklace. They clothe themselves with violence. From their callous hearts come iniquity. The evil conceit of their own mind knows no limits. They scoff and speak with malice. In their arrogance they threaten oppression. Their mouths lay claim to heaven, and their tongues take possession of the earth. Therefore their people turn to them and drink up waters in abundance. They say, 'How can God know? Does the Most High have knowledge?' This is what the wicked are like. Always carefree, they increase in wealth. Surely in vain have I kept my heart pure. In vain have I washed my hands in innocence. All day long I have been plagued. I have been punished every morning. If I had said, 'I will speak thus,' I would have betrayed your children. When I tried to understand all this, it was oppressive to me, till I entered the sanctuary of God. Then I understood their final destiny. Surely you place them on slippery ground. You cast them down to ruin. How suddenly are they destroyed, completely swept away by terrors. As a dream when one awakes, so when you arise, O Lord, you will despise them as fantasies. When my heart was grieved and my spirit embittered, I was senseless and arrogant. I was a brute beast before you. Yet I am always with you. You hold me by my right hand. You guide me with your counsel, and afterwards you will take me into glory. Whom have I in heaven but you? And earth has nothing to desire besides you. My flesh and my heart may fail. My God is the strength of my heart, and my portion forever. Those who are far from you will perish. You destroy all who are unfaithful to you. But as for me, it is good to be near God. I have made the sovereign Lord my refuge. I will tell of all your deeds. Here ends Psalm 73. This is a beautiful psalm of wisdom, talking about how, at one point in time we were senseless and arrogant, ignorant, and yet God, when He is with us, He holds us by His right hand. He guides us in His counsel, and that He is the only one that will take us into glory. That the earth desires Him, our flesh and our heart might fail, but God is our strength of our heart. It's a beautiful imagery of the ever refuge that God gives to His people. We also hear about Leviticus 12. We hear about the ritual of purification after childbirth. We see this example of this when Mary, Jesus' mother, goes to the temple after her 33 days of purification. And then this is when we see Simeon and Anna. And then lastly, we hear about Exodus, and we see the people grumbling before Moses. And Moses just keeps having more and more hard time with these people. They're just very obstinate, and this is not good. But yet God still gives them provision and watches over them, and actually allows them to defeat their enemies, as we see with the Amalekites. And then we see the visiting here of Jethro with Moses, and him saying to Moses that he's taking on too much, that he's going to burn himself out. And yeah, burnout is something to not scoff at. Moses is wise to hear the words of Jethro, to be able to train up other leaders to oversee that can do the smaller tasks, so Moses only has to do the really hard justice pieces. And so this is good. It's good that we surround ourselves with people of wisdom who can continue to help us to be better leaders. And I think that's really important. As Moses is told that he is to find leaders and officials over thousands and hundreds and fifties and tens, and they can serve as judges for the people at all times. The difficult cases will be brought to Moses, but the simple ones they decide for themselves. So great wisdom here from Jethro. God continues to put people in our lives to speak into our lives with wisdom. And I just pray that you might remember this when others come alongside to help you, and that you might heed their wisdom and understanding, and that you might be better because of it. Thank you for joining today. May you be blessed. I ask that you might pray for me as we go through this, as I pray for you, that you might grow in wisdom and knowledge and understanding and fear of the Lord. Have a wonderful day. God bless.